The bidding war for Rob Wright might finally be over, and it might be the worst case scenario for the Baylor Bears.
You are Locked On Baylor, your daily podcast on the Baylor Bears. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello, Bears fans. Welcome to another episode, an emergency episode of Locked On Baylor. I'm your host, Cam Stuart of ESPN Central Texas and the Cam Show on YouTube. It's part of the Locked On Podcast Network where it's your team every day. We might finally have the final destination for Rob Wright in what has quickly become a bidding war. It looks like Rob Wright is not only leaving Baylor, but staying in the Big 12. BYU is going to land the Baylor point guard for an exorbitant fee. Okay, there was a lot that went into this. There were so many teams rumored, and a few teams thought they had Rob Wright. Baylor thought they had Rob Wright. Villanova thought they had Rob Wright. He might be Bob by the end of this. And now BYU has Rob Wright for a reported fee of well over $3 million. Somewhere in the range from $3 to $3.5 million. $1.5 million is what he was allegedly going to get from Baylor for this year. He now finds the highest bidder at BYU for $3.5 million. Crazy 24 hours in this saga. Had it dead to rights last night that he was going to Villanova, that his dad had already worked out the deal. Story is, he was going to Villanova, and then BYU brought in an even bigger price. So the $5 million was probably a bit much because he goes to BYU for $3.5 million. And boy, are they getting the best team money can buy out there in Provo, Utah. AJ DeBonsa for $4 million out of high school. Now you've got your point guard for $3.5 million, and he will play in Waco next year. Rob Wright Jr., his father, who orchestrated this deal, will be in the family section right next to the Baylor student section. Do with that what you will. But this is an ugly saga that might be coming to an end here because Rob Wright does not have an agent. This was all his family's doing, and his dad, with the burner accounts and all, has brokered apparently this $3.5 million deal for Rob Wright to go to BYU. I mean, crazy stuff. Joe Tipton has put it out there. He has crystal balled it 100%. But our man, Ashley Hodge from Sikkim 365, our Baylor guy, had it first. And he did not mince words about it. Ashley Hodge, who I always say is the most connected in the media for Baylor basketball. His latest tweet about it: all signs pointing to Rob Wright going to BYU next year. That trip to Waco will be fun. I know tampering is rampant, but a signed contract? Different world. So not only does BYU come in and get your future star in Rob Wright, the guy who you were kind of putting everything on for next year, but who knows when this courting started? It was Rob Wright who, dragging the nuts across the floor, hit the 2 clutch free throws in Provo to send the game to overtime back in January. Who knows? Kevin Young might have wanted him right then and started negotiating then. But what we know now, as of April 8th, Rob Wright is going to be playing for the BYU Cougars next year. Of all teams, man. Like, Kentucky made sense, the Alvin Brooks connection, and Kentucky, let's be honest. The Villanova connection made a bunch of sense. He's right from outside of Philly. They've got a new coach. But BYU has put it out there that they are willing to spend whatever it takes. Danny Ainge and the gang and the church is willing to spend whatever it takes to put the best basketball team out there on the floor. This just screams slimy, man. It screams slimy. This bidding war that goes on suddenly 3 weeks after the transfer portal opens. Who knows what kind of contact BYU had with Rob Wright during this season, but it sounds like there's some smoke around that situation, and he stays in conference for $3.5 million. That's crazy, man. That's crazy. And you thought the booing for LJ Cryer was bad. Wait till Rob Wright takes the floor in a BYU uniform for what's going to be one heck of a team next year out there in Provo. But they're losing some. They lose Dallin Hall. They lose Igor Demon. And they replace them with one of the best point guards in the transfer portal. And at this point in the cycle right now, maybe the best point guard in the portal, in Rob Wright, a guy who I touted as a future All-American. A bunch of analysts did too. That is a killer blow for Baylor. You know, if he goes to Villanova, $5 million out of the conference, it's like, all right, go with God kind of thing. There was no way Baylor was going to pony up $3.5 million for one player, but for him to stay in conference at BYU, that's a gut punch, man. That is a gut punch. Money talks. The money always talks. And I know there are Baylor fans who will say, well, what do you expect him to do? $3.5 million. Like, we get it. I get it. I'd take $3.5 million to go somewhere. I would do Locked On Cougars for $3.5 million. But you also understand what comes with that. You can't take $3.5 million and go somewhere else in the conference after basically accepting a deal to stay at Baylor. You can't do that and then bitch when they don't cheer when they call your name the next year at the Foster Pavilion. That's all. Just putting that out. You can't have it both ways. LJ Cryer wasn't chasing a bag, but he thought he could have it both ways. You don't. Rob Wright's professional. He'll get treated like a professional. It's too bad that this is the way that it happened. You know, because if Rob Wright just says after the tournament, hey, I'm going in the portal, I'm seeing what money I can get, that's one thing. And, you know, I was saying towards the end of the season, I wouldn't have been surprised if he entered the portal and the NBA draft just to see what the waters were like for both. But that's not what happened. What happened is for 3 weeks, Baylor thought they had a commitment in place on their side financially to Rob Wright and on Rob Wright's side to stay at Baylor and have the keys to the car, to the Ferrari, hopefully, for next year. And there would be a lot less gray hairs on Scott Drew's head if that's how it went. Instead, Daddy brokered a private deal, didn't even bring an agent involved, and he went out and got something for him. It's just slimy. It just stinks for Baylor fans, for the Big 12, for fans of college basketball. We understand, like, I'm under no illusions that college basketball or college sports is this squeaky clean business, but it's things like these, the backdoor deals, you know, backing out on deals from potentially 2 different schools in a matter of hours. It's got to rub us the wrong way. I'm sorry. It does. And if you're a fan that isn't bothered by something like this, you're lying to yourself or you're not a fan. You know, that's just how it is. So Rob Wright is going to stay in conference and play for BYU, who potentially tampered with him for half the season, if these rumors are true, and a backdoor deal arranged by Rob Wright Jr. This is why you don't mix family with business. It does not go well. It never goes well. He'll get his bag, and the family will have a nice little house, nice little nest egg, and he'll probably make more in college than he will in the pros. But there's certain ways to go about it. That's all. But then again, if I had his talent and could make $3.5 million, there, but for the grace of God, go all of us. But this is slimy. This stinks. Any way you cut this, this stinks. Baylor's best returning player is not only leaving when there's no furniture in the house, he's leaving, but he's also staying in conference and just chasing the bag. 1 year at Baylor, just going to chase the bag. It stinks. It stinks. A BYU of all places, the Big 12 of all places, That's now your two biggest losses in the transfer portal era, staying in your conference. Not a great look. Understandable, but not a great look either way. Anyway, let me know what you guys think down in the comments below. Be sure to like the video, subscribe to the channel. Tell us what you think about this. Yeah, that's it. Tell us what you think about all this. Subscribe to the channel, and we will not. This is not the end of the Rob Wright saga. Not the end of it. In fact, we'll talk about it on tomorrow's show as well. We'll have Sydney Wicker on that show also, talking a little Baylor football on top of that too. But this is your number one source for Baylor sports news, and we will continue to bring it to you. So like, subscribe, leave a comment, tweet at us at Locked On Baylor what you think about all this, and tune in tomorrow on your favorite show, Locked On Baylor.